Hello, clay holers. That didn't sound too good, did it? Welcome to the clay hole. If you're watching this video, it's because you couldn't come to your first week of pottery class. That first week is pretty important. We do a full orientation. We take you on a tour throughout the studio. This studio has a lot of moving parts, but we understand that life happens. We understand that some people get social anxiety. We understand there's a lot of reasons you might not be able to come to your first class. So if you missed it, thank you for watching this video. It is required watching if you want to be a student here at the clay hole. Make sure you watch it all the way to the end. We did add a secret passcode along the way, kind of like our teachers did back in school. That'll just help us know that you actually did watch this. There's just far too much at stake for me, the business owner, to have anybody skip this orientation. So thank you for watching the video. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Dan Pierce. I am the owner and founder of the Clay Hole. It's very strange to be making this video not surrounded by lots of students. That's how I usually present this information. At the time of making this video, this studio is only days into its grand opening. Every class we've had so far has been absolutely epic. The people have been incredible. The energy has been off the charts. I don't think we could have asked for a better launch. My pottery journey only started about 5 years ago. I had never even touched pottery clay before that. It was clear back in 2020. We all remember the pandemic. We all remember being socially isolated. I was dating someone at the time. We had that cooped up, burnt out fever that everyone experienced. And as social lockdowns listed, she and I made a plan. Every month, let's join a new class and try something really cool. Learn an art form, learn a craft. The very first class that we wanted to try, pottery. Long story short, I got hooked. I kept the pottery in my life, not necessarily the girl. And that joke gets a lot more laughs when there's people in the room. Courtney, I'm gonna make that joke again. Will you put a laugh track on it?
Got you.
I kept the pottery in my life, not necessarily the girl. I have been an artist my entire life. I have dipped my brushes into so many art forms. And because of that, I expected to be naturally good at pottery. But holy smokes, did the pottery wheel challenge me. Other students were making tiny bowls and ashtrays on their first day. My pieces were somehow just exploding and going everywhere. It took me 3 or 4 weeks of solid practice to finally get my first piece to completion on the pottery wheel. And this is that piece. Beauty, isn't it? These walls were meant to be straight. They kind of slumped down because they got too heavy with water. The bottom's not supposed to be cracked, but it didn't matter because I finally got a piece off the wheel, and it was a huge milestone for me. And from that point on, I never looked back. I just kept practicing. I got more obsessed. I was not going to let that pottery wheel beat me. Now, you may be coming into class wanting to try the pottery wheel. Maybe you want to sculpt. Maybe you want to hand build. Maybe you want to jump on one of our dozens of incredible pottery molds. Whatever journey it is that you want to take, and there are thousands of journeys you can go on in pottery, this is a place you can do it, with the exception of slip casting. If you don't know what that is, don't even bother yourself with it at this studio. Without fail, in every single pottery class, I ask the students, who here thinks that they're most interested in the pottery wheel? About 90% of the hands go up. I then ask about hand building, and then about creating pieces using the molds, and the percentages get smaller and smaller with each question. But here's the funny thing. Quite often, what you expect that you're gonna love here in class is not what you end up loving. So many people start out with the pottery wheel, and it turns out to be very challenging. It can take years and years to master the pottery wheel. The pottery wheel will chew you up and spit you out before it becomes your friend. It's an art form that I'm excited to share with you if you're a person that has grit. That means every time it kicks your butt, you grab a new piece of clay and you go for it again. Oh, it's challenging, but it is so worth it if you push through and learn the skill. For a lot of you, that's not actually why you want to come here. You want to come here to relax, to have fun, to enjoy other people, to make new friends, to get your hands dirty, but not necessarily be covered in wet mud. That's okay too. Most people end up falling in love with the hand building and the molds. Whatever your journey in pottery is, what matters is that you give it your all. You come in with a realistic expectation that it's not going to be super easy, and you don't cut corners. That's a big part of pottery. Everyone has to learn that for themselves, but I promise you, as soon as you start cutting corners, your pottery will not make it through the finish line, at least in one piece. Anyways, back to my history. So I caught the pottery bug, and I had this big empty 3-car garage, and I thought to myself, you know what, I'm gonna buy a pottery wheel, stick it in one of those empty spots, and practice throwing on the pottery wheel at home. Next thing I knew, I was buying a tiny kiln to go with it. And then I wanted more pottery wheels so I could do it with dates or with friends. And it was just this crazy rabbit hole until I had somehow built this absolute state-of-the-art pottery studio in my garage. I started hosting classes, started having neighbors over, family over, friends over, and I started getting a waiting list to join our classes. First there was a few people on it, then a few dozen, then a few hundred. But the problem was the business model was so good and the studio was so cool that there was almost never openings. But doing that made me realize something. There's a want and a need for an epic community the pottery studio, and I decided to build one. It took about 2 years, and most of that time was spent dreaming it up. It took a year and a half just to find a building we could use, and then my team and I spent a couple months building the absolute most epic pottery studio you could ever imagine. That's how we got the clay hole. But enough about me. Let's talk about the clay hole. Let's talk about what you're going to be doing here. Usually at this point is where I would introduce my staff. I would introduce my instructors. We have 4 instructors in every class, 2 main instructors, and 2 instructors who are working here on trade. I also have my number 1, Courtney. That's Courtney! A lot of you might have seen us on social media. We've been doing pottery videos for a very long time. She's going to be here with me. Sometimes we'll be working on our own things. Sometimes we'll be hopping around different classes or different sides of the studio. But you want to get to know Courtney. She's pretty awesome. Now, when everybody comes in on their first day, they get a few things. They get the clay hole booklet. I'll get into that in a second. They get a name tag so that you can start learning everybody's names. And they get a waiver that they need to sign. You're going to miss the orientation and the tour, but when you come in, we're going to get you the booklet, the waiver, and a name tag. We're going to ask everybody to wear a name tag the first week of every month. And frankly, I'd love it if everybody wears a name tag every week, at least until the classes all get super established. We don't go over this whole booklet here in class, but we do want you to take this booklet home and go over every single page. It's a very short read, but it contains all of the information that I wish I had on my first day of class. There's a few things that I really want to point your attention to. The first is on page 4, membership levels. Let's talk about those for a second. In the studio, we have 4 membership levels: green, yellow, purple, and black. Green is the least expensive membership. Black is the most expensive. Green is basically a bring your own tools membership. You'll have access to a few basic things like stamps or rollers. You'll have access to a few molds and basic glazes, but you won't have access to any of the basic pottery tools. You've got to bring your own stuff for the most part. Yellow is a huge jump up in what you get. You get access to hundreds of tools, everything you need to get going on the pottery wheel or hand building. You get access to a lot more molds. You get access to a lot more glazes, some very cool ones. And purple, that's the next level up. Almost everybody lands on purple eventually. That's where you get some of the most insane, crazy, awesome glazes. Your work really goes to the next level once you join purple. You get access to the vast majority of the thousands of tools we have here in the studio. You get access to our biggest and coolest molds, and you get your own private, much bigger shelf. Green and yellow members both get access to half of a shelf. Still plenty of space to store your work, but limited. Black level members, well, let's just say you get access to some of the most premium pottery equipment, glazes, molds, and an absolutely ginormous shelf to keep your stuff on. Throughout the studio, you're going to find different color stickers labeling everything and what membership level is allowed to use it. We have green, yellow, purple, black, and orange stickers throughout the studio. Those stickers represent what level membership you have to use those items and glazes. Green level members can use everything with green stickers. Yellow level can use green and yellow. Purple can use all 3 of those. If you're a black level member, you can use all 4 colors. Any orange and red stickers throughout the studio means that that's something that me and my team use for our own ceramics journey, and it's off limits to all members. Each membership level only jumps a little bit in price, but holy smokes, every jump comes with so much that you have access to. It's a pretty cool system. By the way, a quick note, green does not necessarily mean that it's easier or that the quality is less. It simply means that the materials or the tools cost us less. Everything at every level is absolute superb quality here. Every membership level comes with learning curves, and I promise you that as you get further along in your journey, you're going to want to upgrade your membership. Next, I want to talk about page 7 real quick. We're just going to talk about the required pottery expenses. There's only 3 required expenses here every month, and then a handful of optional expenses. The first requirement is your pottery membership fee. You've already taken care of that. Next, you have to buy clay through our studio. And finally, you have to pay for your kiln firing. We'll get to the clay in a minute. You're going to purchase clay before you begin, and you'll pick up your clay when you come into class for the first time. Other optional expenses will include things like merchandise, workshops. You might want some specialty glazes or access to some materials that we don't offer with our memberships. All of that stuff's optional. More than anything, I want you to know what to expect when it comes to expenses every single month. The next thing I want you to pay attention to is on page 9. That tells you the different stages of clay. Clay goes through different stages, and to get your piece to the end, you need to understand what stage your clay is in. We're not going to go over that here, but make sure you understand it in your book. It's very easy to understand. Our instructors are also here to help you understand what stage your clay is at. And the last thing I want you to study is page 10. This tells you step by step how to take a ball of mud and end with a finished piece that you're picking up off of the shelf. This is the step-by-step guide here at the clay hole to get your piece from beginning to end. At any point in the process, pull this booklet out, ask yourself which stage you're currently at, and make sure you don't skip any steps. This is one of the most important pages in the book. The rest of the book is invaluable. You're going to want to read it all. Don't skip any of it. I bet you can get through the whole thing in 15 minutes, but keep this with you until you truly understand pottery. It will make your experience so much more enjoyable. It'll give you a lot more success in your pottery journey. These are for you to take home, so please do. The last thing I want to talk about before our studio tour tour is the different types of clay we carry here at the studio. You're welcome to buy your first bag before you come, or you can come ask us our advice on what you should buy as soon as you get here. Just know that we can't spend too much time doing day one stuff if you skip first day. On page 8, it talks about all of our different clay types here at the Clay Hole. Most of these are Laguna. There is one error in this book. It says that we don't carry Berlin Gray. We actually found a source and we now carry it. That is awesome because it's one of my favorite types of clay. If you're a beginner, I would highly recommend you buy 52 Buff or B Mix with Grog. Those are two all-purpose clays that are good on both the wheel and on the hand building side. There are two least expensive clays and you can't go wrong with them. As you get better and as your needs change, you might want to upgrade to other clays, smoother clays, but they do come with more challenges. If you have very sensitive skin, you're going to want to use a different clay. Come talk to us. We'll talk you through it. But those are the two clays I'd recommend you start with. You can find links to those here in the studio or at theclayhole.com under the Buy Stuff link in the menu. And the last thing I want to talk about before we do the tour is the unbreakable Clay Hole commandments. These are posted very big inside of the studio. They're also listed here at the very back of your booklet. These are the unbreakables. These are the things that will get any person kicked out of the studio. We do not mess around here. I'm not going to go through them here in the video, but you need to know what they are. We want everybody to be free here in the studio, to truly enjoy themselves. That's what the unbreakable commandments are all about. Make sure you go through every single one of them. What do you say? We go do a tour. I'm going to take you on this tour in the same order we take the class. In class, we do it this way so that you end finding your shelf and picking up the clay that you purchased. This is the artist's workshop. Very little in this room actually has anything to do with pottery and ceramics. This is where we are going to have all of our future workshops that have nothing to do with clay at all. It might be stained glass, metalworking, candle making, jewelry making, cookie decorating, we don't know. But this is where that's going to happen. And we're hoping that most, if not all of our workshop instructors come from our pottery members and instructors. So if you have any cool crafts that would work in a classroom environment like this, come talk to us. This will probably look a little bit different when you come in here for the first time, but this is going to be our wall of fame, and this is our wall of pain. Pottery comes with heartbreak. If you've done pottery before, you know that. So if you put your heart and soul into a piece and something amazing comes out, and we're talking about the truly spectacular things that people's heart and souls go into, you're gonna make it here onto the Hall of Fame. If all of that same criteria is true, but your piece comes out damaged or broken, or dare we say it, ugly, you're gonna make it onto the wall of pain, because we think you still deserve credit for all of the effort that went into it. This is our Polaroid selfie wall. Please come find me at some point. Let's get a selfie onto the wall. I'm really excited to see how this fills up with Polaroids over the next decade or so. These shelves are just filled with beautiful pottery. We wanted to give everyone ideas of what they could achieve with glaze, different shapes they could throw on the pottery wheel, and just add some beauty to the studio. If you're ever curious what glaze is on any of these pieces, we will do our best to tell you what glaze we used. This is our information center. You're going to find all sorts of cool, terse information here. You're going to want to read all of the little plaques. If you have questions about anything, our instructors are happy to explain it, but there's a few things you really want to check out. The first is our upcoming workshops. This is where you'll be able to find all the different art forms. We'll also have pottery workshop, and those will be listed right here. The next shelf you want to be familiar with is this shelf right here. We've made pots using every single one of the clays that we offer here at the Clay Hole, and we've applied the exact same glaze to each pot. They're all labeled so you can see what the clay looks like with and without glaze. You can see how it feels if there's no glaze on it. Some of them are rough, some of them are smooth, and you can get an idea of what the finished piece will look like before you buy the clay. We of course have sweatshirts and t-shirts you can purchase, and we also have for sale something very cool if you're in a pinch and you want to cut out half the process because you have a birthday gift or something coming up. And that is our finished, beautiful, pristine bisqueware pieces. We offer 6 different forms. They're meticulously handcrafted, ready to go in bisque form. If you don't know what that means, you will. These all cost extra. They're not part of your membership, but they're very cool to have if you're in a pinch. These couches are here to chill on if you just want to escape class for a minute. This is our table game table. We hope you'll grab somebody and just play a fun game sometime. If you get hungry or thirsty, we have cold beverages and snacks for sale. Quite an awesome assortment too. You'll just swipe your digital payment on the vending machine. The drink machines do run on the honor system. You have to pay for them through the website or with Venmo. The QR codes are on the doors. This is our pottery wheel area. We call it spin class. We have 16 wheels available for students to throw pottery on. If you want to make sure you get one, show up to class on time. If you're a beginner at the pottery wheel, there is a video that you're required to watch before you ever sit down at a wheel. Make sure you watch it. You should have received it over text. You can always find it in the resources menu on theclayhole.com. We have all sorts of cool features here at the Clay Hole. Things you might not expect to find in a studio, but they make so much sense once you use them. These are infrared lamps that you can use to desaturate your pieces that you throw on the pottery wheel if they get a little bit too wet. We don't want you to use these all of the time. It's always best to let your piece air dry if possible, but if you're in a pinch, they're here for you. These are all the tools made for throwing on the pottery wheel. You only need a few basic tools to throw any pot, and once you master that, you'll start to understand how all of these tools just take your throwing to the next level. well. If you're interested in using the slab rollers or using our molds to make beautiful pieces, this is where you're going to find the slab rollers. We'll talk more about molds in a minute. We have member lockers in 2 different parts of the studio. Feel free to use them. You're never allowed to put a lock on your locker. They're just kind of there as cubbies. Flip the green magnet to red if you have stuff inside so that nobody bothers your stuff. This is the friend zone. We have tons of cool group games over here. These couches are super comfortable. When I built the clay hole, I did not want to do it to go into the business of pottery. I wanted to go into the business of community. I wanted a place where people could find friends, find second families, meet people organically. So we built all these cool sitting areas throughout the clay hole with no purpose except for people to just come and enjoy each other as human beings. I have a feeling a lot of cool memories are going to happen here in the friend zone. This room we call the Clayground. This is where we do all of our hand building, all of our sculpting. This is where you're going to sand and glaze your pieces. More than anything, this is where you're just going to come chill, do pottery, hang out, chit chat with your classmates, get to know your fellow humans at a deep level that only comes through creativity with another human being. So much cool stuff is going to happen in this room. So many amazing things are going to be constructed and built. So many incredible glaze jobs will happen on these tables. I just love this room so much. And on this wall right here, these are our clay hole glazes. We have over 500 commercial glazes here at the clay hole, dozens of underglazes, and that's a really neat thing to have in a community studio. We have almost $100,000 worth of glaze here at the clay hole. A lot of pottery studios think that we are insane for carrying commercial glazes because a collection like this can easily become cross-contaminated and the whole thing can become useless in a hurry. Because of that, we have very strict rules about how glaze is applied, how people use it. You'll need to know all that, watch a very detailed instructional video, and sign the glaze agreement before you touch any of these glazes. But once you do, oh, what an incredible collection you'll have access to. Just like with tools and molds, all of our glazes have different color stickers: green, yellow, purple, black, and the ominous orange. Stay within your membership level. Failure to do so will lead to immediate termination from the clay hole. That's how important it is. We need you to have absolute integrity as you use our different glazes. And oh, are these glazes just absolutely epic. No matter what level membership you are, you're going to find some beautiful glazes. And with each step up, you're going to have access to more incredible, beautiful, very cool glazes. And you'll learn all about that as you get to that point in your pottery process. This area is the Dan Cave. This entire area is off limits to members. This is the area where my team and I work to make our own personal collections and creations. This is our 30-minute warning bell. When you hear this bell go off, it means that it's 30 minutes until closing time, so manage your time wisely because you need to be completely cleaned up before the end of class. A quick note that you always have to clean your own personal space every single class, and you also have to pick another spot in the studio that needs a wipe down or a quick scrub. We all get the studio dirty together, let's get the whole thing clean together as well. On the hand building side, you'll find this card. On the wheel side, it will look just a little bit different. These are detailed instructions of how to clean up here at the studio. On the back side, it gives you a list of different areas you can choose to clean for that secondary help here in the studio. Do it once, you'll be an expert. It's not as daunting as it looks, I promise. This is our main tool room. There are thousands of tools inside of this room. But before I talk more about it, it's time to give you the secret password that lets us know that you watched this video. The password is pistachio. Make sure you give that to our instructors so that we know you made it through the video. Here in the tool room, we have thousands of tools. Just like with the glazes, they're labeled with different colors of stickers. Remember, green level can use green level tools, yellow can use green and yellow, purple can use all 3, and black can use all 4. Make sure that your tools are always clean before you put them away, and make sure they always go into the exact same spot you got them from. If you struggle with that, take a picture of the spot you took your tools from. Just make sure your tools go back into the same place. That will help us keep this studio excellent and workable for all members in all classes. At some point, make sure you come and stand right here in this mirror, but only if you want to know who the sexiest human in existence is. This is a table that you will get to know very well. One of the most difficult things for studios to do is to display all of their different glazes. Usually that's done with test tiles, but when you're dealing with more than 500 different glazes, that can be a serious challenge because test tiles could take up 3 walls. So these test tile pots are the answer we came up with here at the clay hole. Each glaze belongs to a different family, and each of these pots represents a different family. Here in the Glaze Bible, you're going to find every single glaze listed. You're going to be able to visualize what each glaze might look like, and underneath each glaze you'll see a tile number. You find the test tile pot with the family, you find the tile number, and you have a second look of how that glaze might turn out. Glaze is a fickle thing. You can apply the same glaze to the same clay in the exact same way 20 different times and get 20 different results. It is not an exact science, but you can at least have an educated guess by using the system we've come up with here. This is our mold room. We have dozens and dozens of pottery molds of all different shapes and sizes. Just like in the rest of the studio, different level memberships get access to different level molds. molds. The bigger and more expensive the mold, the higher the level you have to be to use it. We have so many shapes of molds, so many sizes. Please be extremely careful because they are extremely fragile. If you want to use any of our molds, there is a video you have to watch. You'll find it in the resources tab of the menu at theclayhole.com. Make sure that you follow all the protocols and are very careful with the molds so that we can keep letting our students use molds. As long as you're taking care of it, we will keep this room supplied with molds. So it's up to all of you. And please do not underestimate how fun molds are. Some people think it's cheating. It is not. It is just another tool you have to make beautiful, pristine pieces for yourself and your loved ones. And molds quickly become the favorite tool for most people here at the studio. This is the clay hole dartboard. Beautiful, isn't it? A team of 4 of us made it over the course of 2 full days. I know it may look a little too pretty to play on, but we made it for all of you to play darts on. Grab someone in class, challenge them to a game of darts. Even if you stink, it's a great way to make new friends. This is our coffee and cocoa station, also honor system, but you're welcome to purchase a hot beverage. This room we call the wash pit. This is where you're going to bring your muddy tools and buckets. You'll get to know this room very well. Follow the instructions on the card, and our instructors are also there to help you understand any of the cleanup process. These are our pick up and drop off tables. This is where you're going to drop off your pieces and pick them up at different stages during the process. We'll take them off of these tables, put them into the kilns, put them back on the tables for you to pick up. Just be aware that every time we unload them from the kiln, you'll have 2 weeks to pick up your pieces. Each piece will have a deadline card placed on top. If you don't pick up your piece in time, we get rid of it. That helps us with the abandoned piece problem. These are our clay cubbies. Clay can be a space hog on your shelves. If you want an extra shelf to put your clay on, it's $10 a month. It can fit up to 2 full bags of clay, and it gives you a lot more space on your shelves to put your work. These are the student shelves. Green shelves are on the back wall, yellow shelves on the left, purple in the middle, and black shelves on the closest wall to the studio. With each membership level, you get a bigger shelf. When you get here, we'll give you a card. You're going to put your name, your maker's mark on that. You're going to put it in a plastic sleeve on your shelf. We'll let you know which shelf is yours. This is where you're going to come pick up your clay. We have 8 different types of clay here. You need to show an instructor your paid-for order, and they will hand your clay to you. Students are never to take clay out of this pile on their own. That helps us keep track of our inventory, and it helps us make sure that no clay walks out the door without being paid for. Just a couple things left and then you're done with this video. The first is our Bring a Friend or Loved One program. It's a really cool part of the clay hole. A lot of people don't know if they're going to enjoy ceramics enough to sign up for an entire month membership. Our program lets you bring any person one time. They can pay 25% of the current monthly membership fee. You'll be in charge of them during that class. You'll share your clay with them. You'll teach them and let them help you with what you're doing. If they sign up for a membership during class, we refund that 25%. If they don't sign up, that's okay too. They had a fun night of pottery. And finally, we have our signature wall. This is where you're going to leave your mark on the studio. We have mugs full of Sharpies all over the community work tables. Come leave your mark. Let the world know that you were here and that we spent time together. And that's it. That's the studio. That's the first day spiel. We're sad that you missed it, but I'm thankful that you watched this whole video with me. If you scroll to the end and we're looking for the password, sorry, it's somewhere in the middle of the video. So you're gonna have to go back and watch. Can't wait to have you in class. Can't wait to see what you make. Can't wait to know you as a human. We'll see you soon.